Yeah.
Hey, yeah, there you are. Hi. Thank you for joining me on this video call. And Mikhail, I wanted to ask you first of all, you designed. Is this correct? You designed and built the studio with your son?
So yes, it's true. It's true. Yes, my main business is actually working with technical equipment connected with concert halls and lighting and equipment connected with basically on a massive bigger level of concert halls. But it was we decided to do this together with my son. And at the same time, in parallel to my business, I've also been really developing my hobby of having a recording studio. So basically, my son Artyom, from his childhood, has played guitar. Is quite an accomplished guitar player, but he's been the real driving force behind this whole studio project. He got to a certain level of playing guitar, and decided, that's enough for me. I really want to get into the sound recording aspect of music, and so that's really what started all of it. So then we had just a real simple setup. We built our own little home studio with basic equipment, and then one day Artyom brought me his own recording, and I understood that it had basically become almost professional level as far as the recording. So then we began to think, you know what? Maybe it's about time that we build our own professional studio and take it to the next level.
Cool.
So basically, in the beginning, we just had I would say, quite a modest, humble plan to build a small studio. But as it went on and we started building, as usual, it got bigger and bigger, and we decided to just kind of let it go and follow this, path. So basically, when we started to really realize this project, we understood that there was really no point to do it unless we were going to do it at the top level and really professional and do it right.
Yeah. Well, it certainly looks an incredible facility from what I've seen in the brochure on the website.
And then, as we were going about this process, the idea arose to do analog recording.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, during this whole time, I want to mention one other really crucial turning point in the whole process, that Artyom had an idea to go to America and study under professional sound producers. And in 2015, he visited Nashville and studied under some of the best analog sound producers in the world, and Blackbird, right?
Well, most of the time I've been at Vance Powell's studio. It's called Sputnik Sound. Also, I visited the famous Blackbird studios, and I had the privilege to be present at the recording of the orchestra at the famous Ocean Way studios.
Wow, okay.
But actually, the whole month I was with Vance Powell at his studio. It all started every day, early in the morning at 6 or 8 o'clock, I don't remember, and ended up at the end of the day. And the whole month was like that. It was like a dream for me.
Nice. And how long ago was that? What year?
It was 2015.
Okay, cool.
So logically, after Artyom came back from America, that's when we really decided we need to build a separate professional studio.
Yeah, I want to add something. Well, actually, when I was at Van's studio, he had all those racks of analog gear, and I said, wow. Well, I thought that people were using plugins all the time. And he said, well, I prefer the analog gear.
Absolutely, but it's apart from the sound.
Yeah, and I'm following him on Instagram, and I noticed that he continues to add more.
Yeah. Well, they're very, very cool. I mean, just that rack behind you there now on screen. It's very, very cool looking stuff. And you can hear from the one tape you sent me. The sound is fantastic.
Okay. Yeah. Next question. He's asking.
Okay. So with the studio you've built there, did you convert it from another building, or have you built that from the ground, totally new building?
This studio was absolutely built from the ground up, from scratch, specifically for the project of having a professional world-class level studio. Control room, where our tone works, and the tone hall, where the recording happens, are actually two separate buildings. They're connected, but they were actually designed and architecturally built as two separate buildings so that there would be the perfect sound insulation between the control room and the tone hall. So we really went that extra mile to really do it right.
Right.
So this year we want to actually share with you that we have another opportunity to expand our facility and actually build a separate drumming room for drum recording of percussion and drums. So we're working on that, and we want to also add a chamber room for recording classical and chamber music. So we're not sitting on our laurels or resting on our laurels. We are trying to continually develop and move forward.
Nice. How big would you say the overall studio is at the moment in terms of size?
So if you're talking about the whole complex and you include all rooms and the full structure, we're looking at about 300 square meters.
Wow.
And with those two rooms that we are planning on building for the drummers and for chamber groups, we're looking at about another 100 square meters if you add all that together.
Okay. So that will be a totally separate building outside of the current.
It will be connected. They will be separate rooms, but they will still be connected to the existing main studio. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Got you. Cool.
Yeah, so I want to just add with great pride that our studio is actually located in a very picturesque and beautiful place. We're literally located in the middle of a forest. And and this is, of course, for artists, this is very conducive to creating, very, very beautiful music, because they're surrounded by natural beauty, and so that certainly does not hurt the process of creativity. And at the same time, we always say that once you come here and you experience this whole atmosphere, it's really hard for you to leave. And I can personally attest to that, Dave. I recorded here first time about 1.5 years ago, and being a guy from California, we don't have this kind of picturesque view, and recording studios in the middle of the city. They're not in the forest, so it really it's really, really beautiful. And I'm still here 1.5 years later. I didn't see any Russian bears yet. That's the good thing. So they have good protection against the bears here too. That's the most important.
I tell you, when I come to write this story up, if you could send me a picture or two of the forest and the outside of the building, that would be really useful to add to the story, to be honest.
So now Dimitri's offering that we move on to the actual the main points of the equipment. Let's talk about the equipment that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to hear all about that. Absolutely. Yeah, if you can run through.
Okay, so Artyom's gonna take over now.
Yeah, it's my time.
Okay, cool.
Well, basically, we've decided to build an analog recording studio with possibilities to work in digital, of course. Because some projects are done in digital domain and others are done entirely in analog. Well, for a long time, we were looking for an analog desk as a centerpiece for our studio, and we ended up with this one. It's an Audient ASP8024 Heritage Edition. It's an English desk. It's made in England. Well, it has 48 channels.
Right.
So basically, when you're working in analog domain, you have to have many channels for all the returns, for parallel stuff. So it has 24 buses, bus outputs, and these buses are split in two. So the first half goes to our analog multi-track recorder, and the second half goes to the converters. And all these connections are done via patch bay.
Yep.
So we have a possibility to record both at once. Because when we are working with analog projects, So when we are recording projects to be released on tape, we can make a separate digital version for musicians with their own wishes and desires.
Commercial really.
Yeah.
So so if you're making even if you're making a digital recording, the mixing and everything is all...
Yeah, of course. In this case, I have all the outputs of converters connected to the inputs of the desk. Also, sometimes I use a separate summon box. It's an SSL Sigma box. I'm using automation from this box, and also I like the sound of the monitoring section of it. Well, the final mix is recorded to the Ampex ATR 102, and it's a mastering standard, and it's a half track.
Yeah.
So, well, I like this machine because it doesn't color so much as the Studio does.
Okay, yeah.
So the Studio that we have here, it's an A800.
Right, yeah.
Actually, it's a Mark 1.
Mark III.
Oh, no, Mark 3.
So do you use the multi-track recorder for all of your recordings?
For analog recordings, yes. Oh, no, some recordings are done to a multi-track, and some of them are done directly to 2 channels. Because if there is only one guy who is playing guitar, for example, there is no reason to record to a multi-track. Well, there were bands that were recorded directly to 2-track because we had the whole day to mix it while the guys were playing and getting ready.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's all about the equipment. And of course, we have some mics. We have a classic collection, all those Neumanns, AKGs. We recently added a U67 reissue to our collection. There are many guys on the internet who are telling that all the mics were better, but I think it's not that important.
Весь набор инструментов музыкальных студий, он очень высокого уровня, перечислить.
Well, one of the things that took our studio to the next level is the purchase of the real grand piano. It's a Shigeru Kawai SK6L.
Right.
So we have also added Hammond XK5 with the Leslie cabinet 3300 model. We have 2 separate drum kits. One, it's an American one. It's a Gretsch Maple Custom. And the second one is Tama Star Classic Birch Bobinga from Japan. And of course, we have a Fender Rhodes that we use several times, and this thing sounds incredible.
Yeah, I do love the sound of it.
Yeah, of course, we have several guitars in studio, like Gibson Custom, Fender Strat, and of course, we have some amps.
And Fender Jazz Bass.
And Fender Jazz Bass.
Okay, cool.
Well, often musicians come with their own equipment, but if necessary, well, we have some of that.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, recently I've been experimenting with all these preamps because I have 48 ones in the console, which are clean.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm always interested in the way those guys were recording back then. And they used all those Neves APIs, some tube gear. And I have here some French clones of Neve preamps. And finally, we've purchased a real one. After that, we added an API 312 to our studio, and they all sound different. And the whole point was to purchase some of them just to choose how many of each we need in the rack.
Cool. Do you have many musicians hiring the studio out for making recordings for or is it mainly making your own recordings for your label, for the Smart Audio label?
Well, at the very beginning, of course, we recorded musicians that came to us to make their own albums. But lately, we've started to search for musicians ourselves to make analog albums.
Yeah.
Well, Michael will talk more about this.
Yeah.
We'll continue. So basically, if we go back to the analog topic and how we find musicians, or vice versa, how they find us, this is kind of a separate story, so let's talk about that real quick.
Yep.
So the person who fulfills the role as a producer, that's me.
Okay.
So I have a very good sense and feel for what kind of music would really be in demand with an analog sound. And from my experience, I have a good feeling and a good understanding of what kind of people would be interested in buying analog music, and what types of music they're looking for. So I understand our studio well, I understand our strengths, and I understand our limitations. And so I understand that we're not in a place to take a big, classical orchestra and record them, or any kind of, large group, but we focus on the areas where we have strengths, and that is, small jazz ensembles and chamber groups. So in having conversations with other people in the music industry, they brought up the fact that we don't have any really big name stars who have recorded in our studio, and so they brought that to our attention. And when people come to me with these kind of positions and statements, I strongly disagree with them, because I believe we have a lot of very talented young people who are just in the process of realizing their ability and talent, and are really future stars. And for example, to give you a specific example, a recording that we sent you of Christina, she has really good talent, really good sound. And so, we're really in the process of creating stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, another great example of a rising star that's recorded in our studio, and hopefully we'll record more, is a guy, Andrei Birnovsky. He's in Germany, and he's a great guitarist, and he's already recorded 2 albums, and we're already in discussion about a 3rd album and some more material. Unfortunately, because of the restrictions due to COVID, he hasn't been able to come, but these things are... the ball is rolling, and at the right time it's going to happen.
Okay, is that a okay? Sorry, that was Andrei Bonovsky? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel we have quite a reasonable, in fact, attractive offer that we give our musicians who record in the analog studio, and that is, our scheme is this, that we really want to create a collaboration, a partnership, and so we offer them absolutely free recording, absolutely free recording, and the digital recording as well for free, and they get the digital copy of their recording, but we get to keep the analog version. So it's a win-win situation for everyone.
Okay, so all the analog tapes you sell, that's your copyrighted.
Yeah.
You have the copyright on that. Yeah. Got you. Yeah, that makes sense.
And we have a couple other recordings that we've done, and we're actually in the process right now in pre-production and post-production of Russian romantic music. And what do I mean by that? Well, specifically opera. We're looking at, so we're talking about, pianos, classical pianos, and just really powerful, beautiful music that we're trying to get into some different genres, not only jazz and chamber music, but we are starting to branch out into Russian romantic music and opera.
Okay. That's that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of. I'm actually a big fan of classical music. My favorite composer of all is probably Rimsky-Korsakov.
I'm with you there, Dave.
But also, I mean, there's Tchaikovsky and things like that. But there's a passion and a kind of, I suppose what would it be? Late 19th, early 20th century Russian kind of classical music is the absolute pinnacle for me.
Yeah, and another genre, there's 2 other genres that we're currently in pre-production, post-production with, is actually electrical music and classical blues and rockabilly. We have a hometown group here in Kirov that's quite good in the rockabilly genre, and they've been all over Europe.
Okay.
So I did send you a link to our YouTube channel where you can actually see what we did. We shot and recorded a live studio session with probably, I would say, the best rockabilly pianist and vocalist in Russia, Denis Mazhukov. Yeah, so that was something new and really unusual, but really fresh and exciting.
Excellent. Are you a rockabilly fan yourself, Mikhail?
He really, yeah, I really love this music. It deep inside my soul. It's somewhere. It's really saturated my soul, I would say. To be honest with you, my musical background is quite different than rockabilly, but I actually played in the Army Orchestra on trumpet.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's continue. Please continue with. We'd love to hear more of your questions.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, one of the things I was going to ask is, obviously, you make analog and digital recordings. So, you've already answered the question that they're all analog mixed. But do you feel there are benefits for digital recording as well as analog recording? How do your engineers, I guess this is to Artem, feel about that?
Yeah, it's a question to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there is a difference. Actually, when a Studer A800 came here for the first time, I invited a drummer for the whole day so he can play and I can record and I can try all those things. And I found out that when I go over 0 view, I lose the transient. So I wanted to experiment with gear, how to achieve the most powerful sound, which has the transient, but at the same time with the less possible noise.
Right.
So for me, technically, it's the main problem that I have to deal with. And after some tests, I understood that without compression and without equalization, it's very difficult to achieve that. So if I add high frequencies and low frequencies before the tape, and also some compression before the tape, I can achieve the result I'm looking for. I'll better make it more than necessary, and later at the mixing stage, I can reduce it, and I can end up with even less noise.
Right.
Well, of course, talking about digital, it has its own benefits. It's easier to recall, and it doesn't have the noise problem.
Yeah.
There are a lot of interesting and unique things in plugins that don't exist in analog. But I think that all these cool tools in digital are for the music that is on the radio right now.
Sure.
I think for the rockabilly music and for jazz music, you just don't need all this stuff. I feel quite good with the equipment I have here.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it's always not enough. Of course, I always feel excited about adding new gear in the rack for mixing, but
Christmas is coming.
Yeah. Excellent. Nice. Just one other thing I hadn't thought to just occurred to me actually when you described the whole studio. So this is maybe more a question for your father, but do you have residential facilities? Do you have rooms so that your visiting artists can stay over if you're doing a whole week's recording, or do they stay in local hotels?
Yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, on our property, we can easily and comfortably host 4 to 5 people. And if it's necessary to host an even bigger group or collective, of course, only 3 minutes away, we have a really nice park hotel that has excellent facilities. You can ride horses, you can take walks in the forest, and the price is extremely reasonable. I would even say it's underpriced for the value, and actually it just, it's a beautiful place, and it really is able to kind of recharge and re-energize musicians if they come and stay here, because they're getting away from the city and they're able to really focus on their music. So I do want to add a really important point that really separates our studio potentially from other studios, and that is that we're not focused on the timing and connected to the price and the work connected to the price. We're really focused on the result, and so we're not putting these musicians in a place where they feel rushed to come up with their creative ideas. And so, for example, Christina, not long ago, she was working all night and recording on a certain style of music of her arrangement, and then in the morning they came up with a completely different idea and direction, and no problem, we went ahead and re-recorded that. And so we are not making them feel pressured about, hey, you got to stay on time because hey, this is how much you've paid and this is what you're going to get. We're really focused on helping them reach the best creative process and creating an atmosphere for that, and not really forcing the time and money issue.
Cool. So with the so all of your money, the business, running the studio as a business, all of your income is from sales of the analog recordings, the analog versions of the recordings, tapes.
Not really. To be honest with you, it's about 50-50. We really don't. It's really a special uniqueness of our studios that we don't really call it a business. This is really, as my partner Dimitri said so beautifully and wonderfully, it's a motivated hobby, or a motivating hobby for us.
So you're just having fun, basically, and creating beautiful things.
Russians can have fun,
Well, no, I totally agree. This is the best way.
And so again, this is a special uniqueness of our studio, is that we work with those who we want to. There's no pressure from above or investors or people trying to pressure us into work with what might be popular. We work with those who we want to and who we enjoy. And so that is a real unique advantage that we really are able to enjoy in our studio.
Excellent. So with respect to future recordings and future artists you might work with, how would you choose them? How would you find them, those artists you might want to work with?
So concerning future recordings and future musicians, first and foremost, the internet. Sometimes we accidentally find potential new musicians just by surfing the internet, and also intentionally looking for such musicians. It's just it's a great platform that offers us so much quantity. Secondly, I personally enjoy visiting different cities, visiting different jazz clubs to see concerts, different philharmonic orchestras. And that's something I'm going to continue because it's a personal touch. But also, for the last 4 years, what we have been doing, and the musicians we work with, is simply word of mouth. They have a great experience with us, and they give a really, really powerful recommendation to fellow musicians. And so, word of mouth, it's the most powerful way, and it's the most personal way. So, for example, my assistant Dimitri, he has a very large amount of contacts and friends in the music industry, and some of whom are quite famous. And so, of course, he's able to, really talk with them and let them know of what we have to offer. And, again, word travels quickly because we have something very unique compared to other studios in Russia. Actually, literally today, we have the opportunity to work with the absolute best bluesman in Russia, who was actually a extremely famous and popular bluesman during the Soviet Union, and is still today highly, highly respected. So, we have some very good connections.
Excellent. How many new titles do you think you may release over the next, say, 3 years?
So we do have a plan, and hopefully that's the key word, hope. pandemic situation permitting, about 6 new albums in a year. We feel we can absolutely record and master 6 albums a year.
Wow. Okay.
So again, we really do hope is the key word here, that, in the coming year, things will calm down, the borders will reopen, and we'll be able to host more musicians. For example, this year, despite all of the restrictions, we were able to do 6 albums, but to be honest, we could have done more. We could have had at least 2 more with Andrei Birnovsky from Germany. We had some Israeli musicians that wanted to come, but of course that country was shut down and locked down. And also Spain, we had musicians who wanted to come from Spain. So there is a lot of potential. We're just, waiting for the right timing and conditions.
Waiting restrictions. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
But we're ready.
So 6 albums a year would be your estimated current output if it wasn't for the.
But of course, as professionals, we're not so focused on the quantity of albums, but the quality of each album.
I appreciate.
There are a few albums that we have that we've done, but we were not satisfied with the quality, and so consequently, they're on the shelf right now. They're laying on the shelf, and we're not going to just put something out just to put it out. We're going to make sure whatever comes out of our studio is quality, and we're not going to compromise.
Yeah, nice.
Может быть, есть тогда предложение нам сейчас перейти в комнату с...
Yeah, and if you're not against it, Dave, we would love to move to the next room and look at.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to see the. You're in my room of dreams there with all those wonderful tapes.
Комната мечты сейчас находится.
Да. Нормально меня видно?
That one and that one. And,
can you see him? Can you see him? Okay. Can you see Mikhail? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That is one hell of an impressive space you're in there with those tape machines.
Я хочу немножко рассказать про эту комнату.
I want to say a little bit about this room and just tell you the history about it.
Okay. Yep.
Студия — это только часть той мечты, которую удалось реализовать на данный момент.
So the studio is only really one part of the dream that we have realized so far.
Okay.
The second side is this room, is our archive room.
Я очень долго занимался и коллекционированием записей, и увлекался хорошим звуком с точки зрения high-end аппаратуры.
So I've, for quite a long time, been collecting albums and high-end music equipment, and it's really just a passion of mine, and so I've been doing it for a long time.
И к определенному времени у меня появился достаточно серьезный комплект аппаратуры.
So over a certain period of time, I've been able to collect a quite serious and professional level of equipment, and I'd like to show you.
Oh yeah.
Да. Это Wilson Audio.
Wilson Audio here.
Pass Labs.
Yeah.
Pass
Amplification.
Labs.
Yeah.
Вот. И it's vinyl.
We got Thorns.
Aesthetics
vinyl.
phono stage. I see. Very nice.
Вот. И я хорошо понимаю, что хороший звук хорошего звука можно добиться только в правильно построенном помещении, в правильном
So
зале.
I very well understand the reality and the truth that good sound can only come out of a well-built and designed studio. Well-built and well-designed studio.
И имея определенный опыт строительства и проектирования залов, концертных залов в том числе, то есть понимание архитектурной акустики у меня есть, и я решил эту теорию применить в практике для того, чтобы построить свой зал.
And so, thankfully connected to my experience, my quite extensive experience in the business world that I work in with concert halls, architecture, acoustics, and all of that combined, I was able to take all that theory from my business and actually put it into practice with our archive and listening room.
Right.
Okay.
So I'd like to show you now exactly how we actually make the copies of our recording tapes. And this is really a studio. This room is focused on doing copying.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the tapes.
Studio.
Yeah, copying studio.
Okay, cool.
Так, видно?
Can you see okay? Can you see
I
everything?
can, yep.
Okay.
Здесь у нас располагаются магнитофоны Штудер.
So here
80.
we have basically a combination of Studer master recording machines.
A8.
Yep.
A8. A8.
Yes, yep. That looks like a half-inch machine.
Oh,
there.
A80.
What is
A80, sorry.
Этот магнитофон является источником.
This is our main source of sound right here. This
Sure,
one,
yeah.
Studer
Это
A80.
магнитофон полдюйма.
A half inch.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
И 3 магнитофона четверть дюйма.
3/4 inch machines.
Все это объединено в одну систему.
And it's all unified and combined into one system. One system here.
Коммутация.
Okay.
Commutation box.
Yep.
И здесь патч-панель.
And of course, down here is the patch panel.
Okay, cool.
То есть
Cool.
при помощи этого устройства мы можем комбинировать, то есть переключать запись с любого магнитофона на любой и так далее. То есть разные варианты.
Yeah. So with the wonderful help of this commuter machine, we're able to combine, unify, even transfer between the other 3 machines the different recordings that we have.
So can you can make 3 at any one time? You can make 3 1/4-inch master copies from the original half-inch. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Здесь же у нас располагается вот этот прибор Neutrik.
We have this panel here, Nutric
A2.
A2
Это прибор,
audio management system.
при помощи этого прибора можно очень быстро и точно настроить и откалибровать магнитофоны на запись.
And so with this audio management system, measurement system, we're able to very quickly and very accurately, adjust and, do whatever necessary from these other 3 tape recordings. We can adjust and collaborate. Yeah, calibrate.
Cool. Okay.
На полке находятся наши мастер-ленты, то есть это
On the shelf, we have our master tapes here.
Okay, those are the originals, are they?
специально сделаны.
Original. Да, these are the originals, yeah. And we have our special brand label there, Smart Audio.
Yeah.
И это пустые ленты.
Of course, those are so far the ones, the white and yellow that you see. Those are still empty.
Мы используем французскую ленту RTM.
We use the French brand RTM for our tapes.
Sure. Yeah. They're very good. Very good.
И вот так вот выглядят наши, он видел, вот так выглядят наши уже готовые релизы.
So, and this is the final packages for our releases once they're done.
Yeah.
В каждом.
Yeah, they're very, very nicely packaged indeed. Really nice.
Очень хороший комплект. And each one comes with
Nice.
photos.
Old school jazz. I like that.
Old school jazz.
Old school jazz.
These are the guys from Sweden.
Okay.
Switzerland.
Do you plan to record with them again?
Планируем ли заново Швентер?
В этом году как раз Бернар Швентер должен приехать снова в Россию. Мы запланировали уже с ним встречу и запись.
So actually, yes, this year he's planning to come to Russia, and we have a plan to record him again. Yeah.
Nice. Excellent.
Do you have any other questions? We would be very happy to answer for you.
I think we've covered pretty much everything. Brilliant. But yeah, what a room that is. I would love to. I think I could move in there and live in that room quite happily.
The topics we've discussed today, of course, we we could discuss forever. We could go on and on and on, but but I think we've covered pretty well. So thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Well, it's been lovely chatting to you guys, and a real privilege to tour your studio and meet you.
We want to genuinely and just from the bottom of our hearts, we want to thank you so much for finding the time to spend with us, asking us such interesting questions, and taking the time to find out about our studio and really give kind of an inside view of our studio to those who are outside of Russia. We're really, really thankful for your time and your interests, and of course, we hope that this is the first of many such kind of interviews, and this will just be the beginning of what we hope is a fruitful partnership and relationship with you. And again, thank you so much for your time and your desire to make known to the rest of the outside world about our studio here in Russia. Of course, and absolutely, you are given the current situation, we're not sure when, but maybe as soon as winter, we invite you to come and visit our studios. We would be happy to host you.
I would love that. That would be very, very cool indeed. And it's a genuinely impressive. It's an impressive studio, and it's an impressive story that you've set this up out of pure passion for doing something superbly well, and I would love to come out and check out your studio and walk in the forest.
Yeah, and we guarantee there'll be bears for you when you go in the forest, but we'll protect you. Yeah, and they'll have a balalaika, the Russian mandolin. Yeah, they're very, very talented bears, very creative. Yeah. These are just typical Russian stereotypes.
It's been lovely chatting. So
wonderful talking to you. Cheers, David. Hey, God save the Queen.
God save the Queen.
God save the Queen.
Okay, cheerio. Bye.
Cheerio,
Bye.
Thanks, Dave.